Okay, so it's gonna be a video series. This is gonna be on Treasury Direct and gonna be a video on how to set your kids up beyond college, or a way to set your children up beyond college, at least until they're 30. Um, it's gonna be through bonds. I know in my generation, we used to talk about, our parents getting bonds, but for some reason that stopped. But what I want to note is there became the only way to buy the bonds was when you filed your tax return. Um, Now you are only able to buy electronic bonds. And as it says, as of January 2025, you are no longer able to buy Series I bonds with your tax return. Um, it's also cheaper now to purchase them. It's $25, and for some, but it's all done electronically, and you can gift it to your children. One of the reasons that these bonds are important and how they set your kids up for the future and beyond college is, again, some of them have 30-year terms. So as you can see, they currently offer two types of bonds, EE and I bonds. It does tell you about the interest rate. So for bonds purchased from May 2025 to October 31st, 2025, that interest rate is 2.7%. And for at least 20 years for the life of the bond, it's going to stay that way. Um, for the Series I, the bond changes every 6 months. Now, that's going to be one, which is also a higher percentage. But it's do note the I bond rate, it changes every 6 months, but it's a combination of a fixed rate and inflation, and it's calculated in November and May. But when you do go to cash these in, or you do file your federal income taxes, some of them you do pay for taxes on. Although you do pay taxes on those, you can also use the money for qualified higher education expenses, in which you may not have to pay taxes on the earnings. So that is also how it kind of sets you up for college and beyond. Um, you may own the paper bond before that. I own a bond, but I'm gonna tell you which one in 1 second. Let me pause this recording real quick. So me, I owned, like it says, all as of January 1, 2025, all new I bonds are electronic. So that means that the last year to purchase them was for tax year 2023 when you filed in 2024. Um, you may own paper bonds issued before 2012 that you bought through a bank or payroll savings. However, so you do have to open up a Treasury Direct account. But enough spending time on this. Let's go ahead and start talking about um why is it good. So for example, just dealing with I bonds, let's say our parents and purchased this. We'll go with May of, I'm gonna go with pre-financial collapse, 2005. So let's say they took $50 of their refund and they purchased an I bond at that time. Well, had they did that, that same $50 now, 20 years later, with still an additional 10 years to go to maturity, we're looking at 109, basically $110. But if that was, let's say they took $1,000 of the tax refund, because remember, there was a point in time that this was the only way that you could buy it. Um, Or even if you didn't just take your tax refund, let's say they took $1,000 and they did it that same May of 2005 and they just took 1,000. That same again would be, now we're looking at $2,199 just off of that 1,000. And then so you can see, as you buy year, if you were to buy year by year and take 1,000, how this would grow. We're going to remove that $50 one and just work with the 1,000. So you could see your total price was 1,000, which that's what you paid. Your total interest is now $1,199.20. Your year-to-date interest is $64.40. So let's say, your mom came back again pre-financial collapse right at the start of it, 2006, and purchased another bond. So now you're looking at your parents putting in 2,000, and the total interest earned in this time period from 2005 to 2025 is $2,349. So it doubled your money and then some. A lot of people, we like, here and now and growth, but this is how you set your kids up for the future because you have the money doubling. So let's say your family wasn't really and truly affected by the financial collapse starting in 2007, and you add in another 1,000. And so as you notice, the interest rate for each of these bonds, it keeps changing. However, every time you put in money, you're doubling in this time span. And so you can see the final maturity date for each of these. It's going to change. And let's say I'm just going to jump a year and I'm going to go 2010, jump 5. So because, at 2010, we're still just getting our feet wet. We're only 15 years in. You've made half of the 1,000 you put in with your interest from in those years. Although the interest rate is lower. And then what we're going to do is we're going to jump from 2010 to one of the ones I got. What year was this issued? 2024. So at that one, you can see now I'm getting a notice saying I'll be penalized if I don't hold it for 5 years. But on that one interest note, which we're only 1 year in, I've made $59.60. So roughly $60. So by the time that I am all the way in, look at where I started at with the interest rate. Now, one thing to note about the interest rate is I need to go to I bonds. So the interest rate on a Series I bonds changes every 6 months based on inflation. It can go up and it can go down. So as you can see, the current Series I savings bond interest rate is down. It's actually lower. It's at 3.98%. And the interest rate I got in at was at 4.18%. And like it says, the overall rate is calculated from a fixed rate and an inflation rate. The fixed rate never changes. The inflation rate is reset every 6 months. Therefore, so is the overall rate. So at the time of issuing, March 2024. and you're forced to actually use AI Steam. So if you see it was 5.27%, like the fixed. So fixed it was 1.3. So with inflation going up and down, and it's still more. That fixed rate now is 1.10. So as you can see, it was actually up when I got it. Um, but overall, this is gonna be how you set your kids up for the future. If we had continued that pattern, and I'll remove that one, but if we continued that pattern, that was 2006, 7, 2008. I'm not doing this 30 times, but so you can see as we keep growing, going and going and going, now we're in that collapse at 2008, 9. Interest rate is smaller. Also have we're still right here. Smack dab in the middle. But look at what we've put in, which is $6,000. Look at the total value of our $6,000. So we're at 5,000. So we've earned 5,000 in just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 years we've earned 5,000. Again, continuing on, now we're going to 2011 because we already have 2010. So we've spent 7, we have 5,000 earned in interest. So now our total value is 12. We'll keep going. That was 2011. We'll go 2012. So again, as we keep going the years and years, of course, in and of itself, the interest rate, because we're smack dab in the middle of the Great Recession and all of that, interest rates is going down. We're also haven't held it as long, so we haven't built as much interest. So what I'm gonna do is that was jump back because we was born in the 90s. So let's go backwards. 2000. So at 2000, if we purchase a savings bond for $1,000 for 2000, that interest rate, good God Almighty, 6.51%. And that value in today's terms is $4,000. And that's 3,000 in interest earned. So we have been doing this since 2000. We'll go 2001. Pretty much right. We'll do just as 2001. We'll do 2002. And we'll do 2003. And we'll do 2004. So let's just stick to what we've done. And what that is, so we about roughly first, second, third grade for most of us. Starting with first, second, third grade, running all the way through 1, 2, 3, 4. I need to add one more. I don't see 2005. Okay, there is 2005. Did have it. So when looking at this, so going from 2000 up until 2012, you would have invested in a Series I bond, $13,000. However, off that $13,000 investment made into that child's life and these savings bonds, you would have earned 16,000 in interest. So you would have doubled. 13 and 13 is 26 for a total value. Total value is 29,000. Mind you, the final maturity date and the earliest date that we will have that will mature, because you hold them for an average of 30 years, is going to be May of 2030, which is 5 years from now. So that $1,000 ended up becoming 3,756. And if we were to take this, and it may not let me go further, just take me to 2030. And that'd be 052000. Yeah, I kind of figured it wouldn't. You'd have to use AI to do it. Is 8. Let's just put in 2013 to bring our calculator back. So, in looking at it, we went to 2013. We've put in a total of $14,000. That is now 31,000. Again, it's more than double. But overall, as each of these mature, there's going to be different interest rates. Now, what we can see is and this is by the economy, the 2010, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, and I now have to add 2014 to see when we actually came out. 2014, so we're still at 16. And as you can see, we're kind of getting closer to narrowing in on our flat break even, just double. So no more. 16 and 16 is 32. We're at 34. So as we could see, the years of the recession actually hit, and they hit the hardest. We'll go calculate as of 2022. So one that was issued in 2022 is just getting started. But overall, you can tell the ones that have time and longevity, which are nearing the maturity date. And what that tells us is, as time goes on, these are all going to go up. So that's the importance of starting an account like this for your kid early on, because the earlier you start it, the longer the compounded interest goes. And that's just as what's happening. So that's why we get, we spending 17,000, 17 and 17 is 34. We're at 35,000 for a total value. Our total interest earned so far is $18,000. So we spent 17 to make 18. And as time goes on, again, we still got 5 years for the very first one that we purchased in this scenario to mature. We could be looking at roughly off just that one. Where are you? 2000. So just off that one, we could be looking at interest of 4,250 off the $1,000 made. So that value is now $5,000. Although it took 30 years, this is a one way to set your child up for the future. So now how do you get a Treasury Direct account? You just come in and you create an account. Now, how do I sign in? I done forgot. There it is. But you just sign in and you get started. Ooh, hold on. Yeah, hold that thought. Sign, y'all. Homegirl ain't never signed up for it. True. I thought I did, but apparently I never finished my sign up. So I'll have to do that later. But that is just how you do it. You come in, you can also do it for kids. And you'll just have to be a parent. But that is going to be the way that you can, save this way with savings bonds. Hold on. Okay, last but not least, last thing on the bonds is most people do not know that you can purchase a bond. We see that little thing on the voting thing where it'd be like the city is raising this for a bond for this. And what the city does is they sell it to a bank most times. And as it says, in either case, the bonds are purchased by a bank or investment firm and then remarketed or resold to institutional investors and or private individuals like ourselves. So you can actually as well buy bonds that relates to the city of Raleigh. I'm not sure about Wake County in and of itself, but you do have to ask. I know state employees has held a bond. I know BB&T Truist has also held a bond in the past. Not sure if they still do, but it also depends. But that is the crash course in buying bonds. And stay tuned for college saving plans and the tax benefits, stocks, and early investing in the tax benefits. And do note all of these are early investors, is what we're talking about, is getting started early with investment, which of course, sets up generational wealth. As we were talking about it as it relates to the I bonds, we're talking about 30 years ahead of time. And as the child gets older, so if you buy it from zero, that's 30 years. And then, one is another 30 years, all the way up until 18. So by the time that person is 48, they're still, earning some income off of what you give them or what you instilled in them to do each and every single year. And then if they're 30, they can still buy a bond at 30. And of course, well, even if they're at 48, they could still buy the bond. And, at 78, when it matures, they still have all of this income coming in or going somewhere. So that was a crash course on bonds. And that is it for this video.